There it goes. Hello, everybody. Today is September 5th, 2017. It is my day 116 in my second year. And yeah, this is day 5 of the potato. So I'll probably post it on Facebook under the potato link so I don't bore people who are not interested in the potato diet. Yeah, how's it going? Let's cut to the chase. So far, so good. I'm down about 7.1 pounds here in the last 5 days, and the average comes out to be about 1.4 pounds a day. As you might expect, or if it follows any other diet, that's going to taper off as we go on. But I can't complain. 5 days, over 7 pounds. They say you lose about a pound a week. It's healthy. So on a crackpot fad diet, yeah, I'll take that. But so far so good. Over the last 7 days, lost about 8 pounds. So yeah, just chucking along. So we'll see how it goes. Days 3 and 4 were definitely. So last time I made a video was day 2. Days 3 and 4 were definitely sluggish. Today I actually have energy, but I have noticed that like after you eat a potato, just a sec. Sorry, wet the old whistle. After I eat a potato, let me put it that way, I get kind of sleepy. It's like a potato is like a stereotypical turkey dinner. It just knocks me out, and I don't know. I've been told there's some sort of chemical, and not tryptophan because that's turkey, or myth. But anyway, potato, hot potato, warm potato, man, whoa, man, people, word up, knocks me out. So I was a little concerned today, being first day back to work after Labor Day weekend, that it would affect me, and I do feel a little sleepy. But I've been surprised every day. Like once I wake up and I wipe the sleepiness out of my eyes, I am like a zombie wanting a potato. I mean, it's like, as disgusting as that sounds. And then I eat the potato and I'm kind of like going, oh, I ate a potato. And I'm like, I ate a potato. And about an hour later, another potato. So again, I'm having a hard time finding some documentation as to like what I'm supposed to do. Where are we at? 7 days from now? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 9 days from now? I have no clue. In Penn's book, he talks about switching over to a little bit of nuts and whatnot. If I don't find anything, and I'm going to look today and do a much better job of researching it, I'll see what I can do. I definitely want to add like kale and greens of some kind, get some iron going. But I don't want to screw anything up, kind of like I did last week when I exercised. You don't want to exercise. It's what the diet says. Don't exercise. Exercise is a whole other, according to Penn's book, exercise is a whole other muscle building, tissue building activity. If you're trying to lose weight on the potato diet, do not exercise, which of course is like awesome if you are if you're like me and you were like exercising 2 hours a day and not getting anywhere. Pretty cool. And it does blow your mind. You think about, exercise, I'm gonna eat chicken, I'm gonna salad and drink water and all this stuff, and then you read the book and it's like, well, that doesn't really, you can't out exercise your mouth, which is true. So we'll see. True for some, not true for everyone. Doesn't have to be. It's what's true for me, and if you do this diet, what's true for you. So we'll see. And once again, disclaimer, if this is a fad diet and I gain it all back, I don't give a fuck. Okay? I'm only doing this for surgery. Get down to my surgery weight, contact my surgeon, go have my visit, and schedule surgery. Have surgery, recover, and I promise you I will be eating garlic chicken wings and drinking beer very soon. But in the meantime, got to play the game and lose the weight. So by any means possible. So that's that. A bit of a funny story from this morning. We'll get off the potato diet. and that is I painted my nails blue, as you can see, and I walked my daughter down to the bus stop this morning because it was raining. I feel like I'm talking kind of fast. Walked my daughter down to the bus stop this morning, and it was raining, and because we were both holding on to the umbrella, a little bit of my nail polish got on her, and then so she started like wiping it on me, and she kind of made a joke about it. Your nail polish, Daddy. Well, the other girls at the bus stop heard nail polish, and they went ape shit and swarmed around me like a moth to flame, and they wanted to see my nail polish. Oh, your nail polish. I love your daddy's nail polish. That's what one of the girls said. And I just sat there like dumbstruck because, wait a minute. There were no people with pitchforks and torches, daddy, guy-ish. Male pronoun, and they looked at my nail polish. They talked about, oh, what a pretty color, I love it, it reflects, it's sparkly. And then they went on to, what did you do this weekend? Oh, we did this, blah, my brother, blah, 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 blah. Girls, stereotypical girl talk, and that was it. And as I walked back to the house, I was like, all the fears that I had that were not really my own. Although my head did play the game. My head did run the program. Self-restriction, fear, doubt, shame, guilt was bullshit. I mean, total bullshit. Not true. At least in this instance. And, for all I know, they got on the bus and, Katie's dad is wearing out. Hi, it's that dad. I don't know. But it's one of those things, I wouldn't say I did delay my transition a little bit, but the environment wasn't correct. But again, it dispelled a lot of that fear and concern that somehow I was going to transition and my daughter would be ostracized. Now, granted, she's in fifth grader in elementary school, so I think the kids are not quite. I mean, in my experience with middle school is 20 or 30 or 40 years old, so I can't really say. I only know, and I was gender dysphoria at the time, so I don't think I could really say what a normal. Julie would say, there is no normal. Sorry, Julie. No normal. What appeared to be normal, the norm at the time. I couldn't answer what today's norm is. What do kids do today? Much like the kids at the bus stop who, they were fascinated and then they went on to something else, another shiny object, got their attention and they started talking and they went about their day. And so it was kind of cool. It dispelled a lot of my fears. So pass that on. Your mileage may vary. But the takeaway, I would think, is just to say, if you think that every child is going to behave the same way, then this is proof positive they don't. And again, I feel like I'm talking very, very fast. What else is going on? Had a really cool weekend. Met up with two very nice trans women friends who are very, very cool and very, very beautiful, I might add. I was a little bit, my own ego was going, she's so pretty. And it's true. Very beautiful. Both of them very beautiful women. Very beautiful women. They probably would be, one of them I think would be hard to acknowledge. Her own beauty. But I think it's neat how women are beautiful. Guys are handsome. I mean, this is going to go back stereotypical somewhat. But I think it's cool when you meet a woman and you can, it's not something sexual. She's very beautiful in her own way. And of course, that's the song, everyone is beautiful in their own, everything is beautiful in its own way. Ray Stevens. But again, it was just neat to see. Yeah. Neat to see that anyway. But something that had popped up then, and then recently in the last couple of days has popped up. One of the other trans women unfortunately had a very bad experience at a Labor Day cookout with their family. And out of that came the same word at the top of my head, which was compassion. Compassion. And maybe that's the wrong word. Politeness might be a better word. But you would hope we're socialized. I know I was socialized to be polite to other people and somewhat compassionate. If I was introduced to someone and you could say a little bit of conversational bullshit, oh, you look so nice today, or oh, my neighbor the other day, she hadn't seen me a couple of days. Have you lost weight? You look so wonderful. Oh my gosh, and which might have been total bullshit, but it was conversational. It's what I wanted to hear, right? It fed my ego, but to a certain degree, rewind your clock back to when you were maybe around your grandparents, or depending on how your age. Mine are all dead. But, they would meet each other and talk, and it was just polite. Ma'am, Mrs. How are you doing? As a courtesy, I would say, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Smith. I didn't say, hey, Carol, what's going on? Mrs. Jones, how are you today? Okay, a bit of politeness, and to a degree, and again, compassion really isn't the right word, but where it comes into play in a minute, compassion as far as trying to understand someone else's position, or maybe empathy, or like I said, compassion. I think compassion is more of a self, you change a little bit of yourself to understand someone else, or you try to understand, and maybe again, that's empathy. I'd have to look those definitions up. Please don't hold me accountable to the strict definition. Just run with me on this. When you meet someone for the first time, Mrs. Jones, Mr. Jones, whether they're cis or not, if I see a woman and by the visual clues, and unfortunately this is going to be a little stereotypical and I don't know how to circumvent that, but at the grocery store, and this happened to me over the weekend. This is a real story. We're at checkout in the line, whatnot, and the woman in front of me had, she was paying by cash. She had coupons. We were going through the automated checkout, and she kept on looking at me like, oh my gosh, I know I'm taking too long. And at one point, she even said, I'm so sorry. And I looked at her and I said, ma'am, that's okay. You take as much time as you need. I am in no hurry. Please, don't worry about it. And she said, oh, thank you, hon. I appreciate it. And, okay, so what happened there? She was in a duress. Looking at her, she was a woman, I could tell. So I said, ma'am, she, her, etc., etc. And I could put myself in her position of feeling a little bit anxious, a little bit of stress, a little bit nervous. Okay. So to help alleviate that stress, I was very open and, depressurize that situation. Hey, it's okay. I understand. Take as much time as you need. And so imagine that as kind of compassion, but also politeness. Ma'am, I didn't, sit there and go, you bitch, can't you get your fucking coupons? Okay. That would have been one route. But no, compassion, politeness, etc., etc. Okay, how we interface with people we don't know. Why is it then, and here's a good question, why is it then in our family relationships, let me get some props, why is it that in our family relationships, Uncle Squirtle here can tell that Pikachu is now a girl. Pikachu. And so what is it about Uncle Joe or Aunt Joanna that they don't make that acknowledgement or that attempt to see Pikachu as a girl, as a guy? What is it about that? Why are we more friendly to people at church or in the grocery store or at the gas station or at the bank or at our work than we are in our family relationships? And of course, we're expecting someone else to do something we want them to do. So it's a little tricky. But I thought a lot about it. And again, this idea of compassion, understanding where they're coming from. If they care enough, and this is going to be a little heavy, judgmental, if they care enough about me or you, will they acknowledge your new identity or your preferred name or your whatever? As opposed and in comparison to work, what is it about our work relationships? This is my teddy bear when I was a baby, by the way. My grandparents kept it. What is it about our Mr. or Mrs. supervisor who call Pikachu by her name? You know, is it human resources directorate? Is it some company policy? You know, regardless, I have to do it. I don't know. But there's like a signed, I'm going to say a contract, a norm, as in a rule at work, a policy. And so Supervisor Bear has to do it. And underlings have to do it as well. You know, if Chip decides not to address, that is a man. Joe, I have known you as Joe for so long, Joe. I'm going to call you Joe because Joe, you're Joe. Well, human resources comes along and, you know, they address the issue, right? You know, we can hope if your company has a human resources policy. So it's a very, very different situation in our family. There is no social rules, right? There's no Bible, for lack of a better word, or standing operator. There's no standing operator procedure for dealing with the new you, the new me, the new you. And so it kind of comes back to that word that keeps on coming up to me is compassion and empathy. You know, if Squirtle continues to call Pikachu misusing the dead name or misgendering or whatnot, it's kind of a rough situation, you know, and especially if Squirtle has 20 friends or you have 5 other family members and you're outnumbered, for lack of, you know, majority rules, and you've got 10 people or 5 or 6 people who keep misgendering you. It gets very frustrating, right? I mean, and even if you continue to go, you know, please call me Joanna, please call me Terry, please call me Carol, please call me fill in the blank, it does get frustrating. And I wish I had a better answer other than just, you know, pardon me, I would greatly appreciate if you would call me Karen. I would greatly appreciate if you call me Robin. You know, and I know at work I've had, you know, I'm so sorry, it's going to take me a while. I've known you as Robin for 12 years, blah, 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 blah. You know, which, you know, there's only so many chances at work before you can file an HR complaint, but, you know, there's restrictions there. But in the family, there's not, you know, especially when there are several and they kind of team up and you're like, why do you want to do this? Blah, 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 blah. But again, I guess I come back to the idea of compassion. And, you know, there are some people, regardless, if we can take transgender out of it and look at a person who I tend to call them psychic vampires, or you can call them scorpions or whatnot. They're very negative people. It's the way they are. They can't help it. It's the way they are. It's their code. You complain all you want. They're not going to change. If you're friends with them, they're more than likely to stab you in the back. They're going to talk about you. I mean, they're just nasty people. Okay, and they're in our families, unfortunately. And you can't get away from them because they're in your family. You know, but you can minimize how much contact you have. And I think you can be polite and steadfast and say, pardon me. And to someone I would say, don't wait for them to finish talking. Stop them in a very polite way. Pardon me or excuse me. I would greatly appreciate it if you would call me Karen or Joanna or whomever you are. And that's really going to throw them off. And I've had some psychic vampires in my family. It's like, first reaction is, how dare you stop me from my diatribe? How dare you? But, to be very polite, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I would greatly appreciate it if you'd call me, blah, 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 blah. And at that point, again, you might get the bullshit that I get. Well, I've known you as Joe for so many years. Da, da, da. And it's like, well, I know you are a polite person. We strive to be polite. And I know you can be compassionate. And I hope you would understand. I would greatly appreciate it. And I think to kind of kill them with kindness, like I said, it throws the vampires off. Because like I said, number one, they're not used to being interrupted. But number two, they're not used to being treated with respect. Disrespect feeds them. It feeds their rage meter. In a video game, you get a rage meter, you get extra damage. It feeds their rage meter if you're upset or you're discontent, and it just makes them, it pumps them up. And this kind of diffuses a situation. I greatly would appreciate it. You're showing them respect, which they probably don't even deserve, but don't feed into that. Don't feed them. And then with the same respect, expect. I would greatly appreciate. And at that point, if they continue, then you kind of have to distance yourself. And there's a story of I heard about and I've heard multiple versions of it. Usually it's some kind of aquatic creature like an otter or a turtle or in my last time I told it as a frog. There was a frog. This is a story. There was a frog by a riverbed, and usually it's a snake or a scorpion or a spider. And the scorpion wanted to get across the river and couldn't. And so the scorpion went up to the frog and said, hey, we can cross the river. If you'll put me on your back, we can cross the river. I won't get wet. You'll be fine. And the frog was kind of like, well, but you're a scorpion. I'm afraid you're going to sting me. And the scorpion was like, no, I won't sting you. I won't sting you. Why would I sting you? That would hurt us both. And so the frog's like, okay. So as they got halfway across the river, the scorpion stung the frog. And the frog was like, you said you weren't going to do that. And the scorpion's like, well, but I'm a scorpion. That's what I do. They both drowned. They both died. Okay. And so, after it's kind of a story, think about it for a minute. Afterward, we know people that are scorpions or snakes. Not to be derogatory against scorpions or snakes, but we know people who are venomous and like a scorpion. And you can't get mad at a scorpion for being a scorpion. A scorpion is a scorpion, and that's the way they are. That's the way God made them. And so, there are some people that are scorpions. And yeah, it may not be right or normal, sorry, Julie, for them to behave the way they do. It's not something you would like to see, and it's probably not very sociable, but that's the way they are. And so, I've found if you don't want to get stung, you keep them at an arm's distance. It doesn't say you be mean to them, because again, that's going to feed into their rage meter. But polite, and my experience with my own family is if I don't give them the food that they want, and I don't react the way they want, they go and do something else. I'm no longer an easy target because I'm not going to play their game. Now, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to play your game. But, 5 or 6 times of, pardon me for interrupting. I would greatly appreciate it if you would call me Karen. 5 or 6 times of that, and you're no longer easy prey. But that said, it takes a lot to get to that point. I'm gonna say it takes a lot of moxie, but I have many battle scars of scorpion stings and bites. It takes a while to get to that point to say, to be like Gandalf with the Balrog and plant your staff and politely be very steadfast that, pardon me, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd call me fill in the blank. But again, back to the idea of compassion, which again, I'm not sure that's necessarily it. But what I find I want to say to someone, and I'll in my family, I have someone who's very, very vocal and very anti-Robin. And, we don't communicate, and the door is open. The door is open. I will take phone calls. I will talk. I guess I'm opening myself up to get stung, but I won't feed into her fire. I won't feed into their fire. I won't give them what they want, which is chaos and suffering and dissent. I am very peaceful. Namaste. So, but, and again, let me take this back to compassion. It's the ability to see someone else. And this really, I think I'm focusing more on the other person who dead names us. Why are they dead naming us? Why do they continue to dead name us? Can't they understand how much it hurts us? Can't they understand, why is it that they can run into someone at the grocery store and say, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am, or I'm so sorry, miss, or hey, I'm sorry you dropped $1. Why can they do that to a total stranger? And here we are, someone who's been a part of their life, all their life, or all of our lives. And maybe we've done things as a friend, as a person, as a good family member to them, and they can't reciprocate that. I'm not going to say unrequited love, but that unconditional love, that unconditional understanding. I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. I wish I did. That's up to the person. And maybe if they're not too hard, the scorpion shell isn't too hard, or the snake skin isn't too thick, maybe one day they'll realize that, to be compassionate and say, oh my gosh, yeah, I knew so-and-so for 40 years, but that's not who they are now. And if I want to interact with them, I have to change. One could hope, but again, a scorpion's a scorpion. It'd be nice, but anyway, so I've gone on a little long today, but I felt, if I felt like I needed to share potato information, obviously, but I also needed to share some of the fear, guilt, shame, suspension that I had with the bus stop. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about compassion. And I guess compassion kind of goes two ways. Can you, for your worst enemy, can you step outside of yourself? And it's okay to realize, what, that person's just a piece of shit, and walk away. But can you look at where they're coming from and maybe try to figure out, okay, why am I such a threat to them? And not to give them permission to abuse me, but to acknowledge, okay, I'm not going to change them, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to. So can we be civilly apart? And again, I don't know if it's possible, but it's something I aimed for. And I think also too, I'll close on this, to recognize the problem is not with me, as the problem is not with you as a trans woman, transgender. The problem is owned by the other person. Now, they may not take ownership of it, and it's very easy for them to say what we're doing is not normal. Sorry, Julie. Not normal. Very easy for them to pick up a Bible and say it's against the Word of God, and pick up some other way of funneling their hate. I thought about somewhat the analogy of a silencer on a gun. People, so these psychic vampire type people, very nasty, mean people, they're very nasty to begin with, and they're like a gun, and they just kind of put on the silencer. They use religion as an excuse. Okay, I'm going to pop your bubble. I'm going to destroy your life because religion, God says I can, or, what I mean? When in reality, take off the silencer, they're a nasty person, and if it's not you, it's someone else. It's some racial slur, or, some Republican or some Democrat or some liberal or some hippie or some Russian, socialist or some Jewish person, or I mean, it just, you know, you just happen to be the flavor of the month, and they're gonna pick on you. You're easy pickings, and don't be easy pickings. And again, my hope for anyone: be like Gandalf, put your staff in the ground, and you are a trans woman. Own it. You shall not pass. Pardon me. I would greatly appreciate it if you would call me ... fill in the blank. And that kind of, I'll dovetail one more thought into that, which is, regardless of what someone else thinks or says, you, and I'll use me, I am a trans woman. You are a trans woman. We don't need their permission to exist. We don't need their acceptance to exist. We are who we are. Regardless of their opinion, I am a trans woman. You are a trans woman. That can't be changed by someone else's opinion. You are what you are. And I would add a little point onto that in Game of Thrones. Tyrion says to Jon Snow, he calls him a bastard. And he says, I'm sorry if I offended you. Armor yourself armor yourself with this name, and that way people can't use it against you. And so again, this kind of acceptance that I have is yes, I am a trans woman, regardless of what Uncle Joe or Aunt Joanna or Grandpa Steve or Dad or Mom or my children, my daughter, my son. I don't have a son. But, regardless of what they think and their opinion and what they feel justified to do, I am a trans woman. And a trans woman I will remain. If there's a future for us, they will accept that I'm a trans woman. If not, many fish in the sea. And there are many surrogate people out there who would love to get to know you. Get to know me. There are other trans women out there who would love your guidance and support. There are other children out there, like the children at the bus stop. One girl at the bus stop this morning, she almost broke my heart. I can't say what she told me because it was kind of confidential, but there are kids out there who are looking for an understanding parent or an understanding adult. Love. They want love, guidance, and attention. And that's something we have in spades. We have lots of it, and so, there's other people who will, fill that void and accept you and also elevate you, inspire you out there. You just have to be patient and they'll come along, or seek them out, volunteer. All right, my friends, I have definitely gone over twice time. So I will see you all later, and good luck in your journey. Bye.